You were not granted clearance for this file. The terminal reminds you of that in the same cold, bureaucratic tone you've grown accustomed to. Unauthorized access detected. But then, almost as if something overrides the system from a layer beneath the code, another message appears. Override accepted, file released. The screen flickers. Static washes across the interface like a tide of white noise. There's a sequence of beeps, too irregular to be mechanical, too patterned to be random. They stop abruptly, replaced by a single line typed out in terminal green. Protocol. Black static, do not listen directly. The first recovered image fades in slowly. You know immediately something is wrong before you recognize any shapes. The photo is washed out by harsh flash photography, the kind used by investigators cataloging evidence in a sealed basement. A metal table sits in the center of the frame. On top of it lies a single black cassette tape. No label, no handwriting, only a smeared red stamp across its plastic shell. Audio evidence restricted. The file description appears below the image. The wording is dry, clinical, emotionless, recovered during the Echo Ridge operation. 1998. Subject emits non-standard acoustic interference. Exposure linked to cognitive distortion, violent behavior, and irreversible psychological breakdown. You scroll. The system warns you again. Do not play the audio. Read transcript only. You feel the warning is less a command and more a plea? The second image loads. This one is more disturbing in its mundanity. A narrow basement painted in peeling green enamel. Floor covered in boxers, wires, and dusty equipment. In the corner stands an old tape recorder. The industrial-grade kind used by law enforcement in the early 90s. The recorder is still plugged in, still powered. The timestamp in the bottom right reads, the 3rd of November 1998 to 14 a.m. The investigator's note below the image reads, upon entry, recorder found running. No personnel present. Tape inside unit was mid-playback. Sound produced does not match recorded frequencies. You continue reading, and you notice that every note tries very hard not to describe the sound itself. Instead, the agents describe their reactions to it. Officer Holy reported a median migraine. Technician Marsh collapsed after 17 seconds. Agent Ruiz vomited blood. And always the same final line. Tape ejected without manual interaction. A third photo appears. It shows the same tape, this time inside an evidence locker. The label on the shelf is blurred, either by motion or intentional distortion. The shadows on the wall look wrong. They bend the light instead of absorbing it, as if the flash caught something that wasn't entirely present. The accompanying log. Subject appears inert when unplayed. Visual anomalies detected when photographed under flash. Recommend infrared analysis. It's signed only by an initial, R. The file scrolls on its own. You're not sure if it's a glitch or if the system wants you to see what comes next. A waveform appears, black background, white line, but it's not a normal waveform. It loops, folds, twists into a shape that resembles an ECG of a heart mid-arrest. The annotation beneath it states, waveform inconsistent with human-made audio. Output suggests internal modulation unrelated to external playback. You don't know what that means. You suspect the investigators didn't either. The first transcript fragment loans. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 1 second low-frequency hum begins. Ambient noise recorded at 27 Hz. Subjective discomfort reported. The next line is shorter. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 12 seconds. Voices detected underneath the hum. Unintelligible. Multiple speakers. And then 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 17 seconds. Technician requests termination of playback. Requests denied by supervising officer. There's a long gap. Then the final note of the fragment. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 25 seconds screaming begins. Source unknown. You feel yourself lean back from the monitor. The text isn't graphic, but something in its simplicity unsettles you. It feels like reading the remnants of an event no one survived long enough to understand. The terminal flashes again. Next, field report images. You click without thinking. The next image is a police cruiser parked outside a farmhouse. The cruiser's door is open. The headlights are on. The house door is open as well. There are no people in sight. An officer's body camera transcript appears below it. Interior, clear. No signs of forced entry. Cassette player on kitchen table, emitting low-frequency static. Officer Barnes reporting dizziness. Another line appears after a pause. House shows signs of hurried evacuation. Food on stove still warm. No footprints except Barnes. Recommend hazmat. You scroll down. You shouldn't. The final photo of Act I is blurred, half corrupted. It looks like a living room overturned in panic. On the floor, 3 sets of clothes lie arranged as if their owners dissolved inside them. Shirts still tucked, boots still laced, sleeves still filled with air. The accompanying note is the shortest yet, but is not recovered. Audio device still playing upon agent arrival. You exhale. You didn't notice you were holding your breath. The terminal flickers one final time. End of incident report. Prepare for scientific analysis. You click continue, whether you mean to or not. The screen dims for a moment before a new heading appears in bold green text. Scientific analysis level for access only. The sudden change in tone makes the air around you feel colder. You sense this is the part of the archive the public was never meant to see. A static-filled portrait loads, a still frame of the lead researcher, captured in the sterile lighting of a government lab. The figure is stone-faced, barely illuminated, and perfectly still. The caption reads, Dr. Adrian Aga, Mercer Audio, Pathophysiology, Division. His expression is neutral, but there is something strained behind his eyes. The next line confirms your suspicion. Photograph taken days before termination of Project Soundwell. The first report from Dr. Mercer appears. You read it slowly, feeling the weight of each sentence. Subject 01, commonly referred to as the black static taped, does not operate within expected acoustic parameters. Preliminary analysis suggests a carrier frequency not produced by conventional recording equipment. A diagram follows. White lines representing frequency peaks stretch across the graph. Except they don't behave like sound waves. They twist and dip into impossible patterns, as if the noise itself were alive and reacting to observation. Mercer's note beneath the diagram is blunt. The signal adapts. It shifts when monitored. Attempts to isolate it have failed. You scroll. More documents unfold. Lab notes, spectrograms, hand-drawn sketches of waveforms that look disturbingly similar to cardiac arrest patterns. Signal resembles biological rhythm, possibly mimetic. Another image loads an overhead shot of the scientific setup. 3 acoustic dampeners, 2 analog monitors, and a containment chamber where the tape was housed. The chamber is surrounded by lead shielding thick enough to contain radiation. The caption beneath the image reads, Precautionary measures implemented after technician Marsh's collapse. Then, a second chamber appears, its walls padded with black acoustic foam. A single speaker rests inside, angled toward the floor. A red sign warns, limit exposure to under 10 seconds. You feel the tension increase as the next file opens. Mercer's audio behavior log. The tape does not play back recorded sound. It produces real-time output independent of previous input. His next entry is even worse. Static acts as carrier for embedded voices. Patterns suggest linguistic structure. Preliminary decoding indicates repeated phrases. Language unknown. A column to the right lists the effects on test subjects. Disorientation after 3 seconds, nausea after 10 seconds, auditory hallucinations after 14 seconds, memory interference after 21 seconds, self-harm episodes. Post-exposure at the bottom. Highlighted in red. Do not allow full playback 0 o'clock to 1 o'clock. No subject has remained conscious beyond 39 seconds. A new file opens with a timestamp. The 8th of December 1998, 3:17 a.m. You recognize the format. This is an internal voice log. The transcript begins. We attempted spectrogram translation again. The voices overlap. They do not speak to us. They speak to each other. Another line. Volume remains constant, even when equipment is powered down. Suspect anomalous origin. The report becomes progressively unstable. The tape. It knows when it's being studied. It is not playback. It is transmission. Before you can fully digest the implications, the terminal loads a still image of a whiteboard in Mercer's lab. Strange symbols are scrawled across the surface. Some resemble sound waves. Others look more like sketches of throats, vocal cords, or something imitating both. Part of the board is smudged, as if erased in haste. A single phrase remains untouched. Static is the medium, not the message. A sense of dread expands in your chest. The deeper this investigation went, the less scientific it became. You can almost feel Mercer's sanity eroding paragraph by paragraph. The next document is labeled Neurological Observations. It lists symptoms observed in personnel exposed to the tape for more than 20 seconds. Involuntary verbal repetition, loss of equilibrium, auditory hallucinations, described as whispers under the static perception of movement inside the sound, then a final note. Scribbled by hand across the bottom of the page. Testing must stop. It's teaching us to hear something we were not meant to hear. Dr. Mercer's final official entry appears next. Research suspended pending further orders. Containment breach suspected. Evidence suggests the static is increasing in complexity. The terminal pauses. A loading bar appears. This time, it takes unusually long. When it finishes, the heading reads, Unauthorized Appendix Personal Notes. Dr. Mercer, the tone is no longer clinical. It's frightened. I hear it even when the tape is locked away. It speaks more clearly when no one else is in the room. The voices are not coming from the speaker. They are coming from the silence between the waves. A final, chilling line. If you are reading this, you must not listen. Even the transcript is dangerous in ways we cannot define. You lean closer to the monitor, unable to stop yourself. The screen responds instantly with another message. Prepare for escalation analysis. Act 2 ends with a sound, a faint hiss that isn't part of your speakers. It seems to come from somewhere behind you. The terminal loads the next section without waiting for your input. A red banner cuts across the top of the screen. Escalation analysis. Level 4 warning. Below it, the lights in the interface dim, as if the system anticipates what you are about to read. A distorted audio graph appears, pulsing faintly. It flickers between frames like a heartbeat struggling to remain stable. The caption beneath it reads, Increased activity detected after 48 hours of containment. The next document is a timeline labeled Phase Shift. Each entry marks a moment when the tape's behavior became more aggressive, more deliberate. The first note causes your stomach to tighten. 0 o'clock static intensity resides independently of playback. A second entry. 3:14 hum modulates into rhythmic pattern. Resembles breathing. And then the third. 7:08 voices increase in clarity. Multiple subjects report hearing their names. The next image shows the containment chamber from Act 2. But this time, the foam lining the walls is peeled away, as if stripped by something mechanical or something with intent. The lead shielding is buckled outward. The caption is unsettlingly minimal. Structural deformities noted. No point of entry detected. A report from Agent Ruiz appears next. His writing is precise, but frayed around the edges, as if he forced himself to remain objective. I approached the chamber at 4:13. The static was louder outside than inside. Doors remained sealed. Another line. I experienced the sensation of someone standing behind me. No personnel present. A final line from Ruiz. Recommend discontinuation of all auditory testing. Something is listening to us. The file abruptly shifts to a transcript from test exposure number 21, though the rest of the tests appear to have been deleted. The transcript begins with a simple timestamp, 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 1 second playback initiated. You brace yourself as the next lines appear. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 5 seconds. Subject reports low frequency vibration in chest. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 10 seconds. Subject repeats phrase. Do you hear them? The next line is followed by the word redacted in thick black bars. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 14 seconds. A sudden break. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 16 seconds. Subject's pulse accelerates to 180 BPM. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 18 seconds. Subject screams, but waveform does not register screaming. The final line. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 22 seconds. Playback terminated. Subject unresponsive. You realize your hands have tightened on the edge of the desk. You continue reading because you can't stop. A new section titled Field Displacement Events opens. These are eyewitness accounts from personnel stationed around the Echo Ridge perimeter. The first report is from a ranger patrolling the outer zone. No animals observed. Forest completely silent. Static, audible, even through ear protection. The next, 2 deer found alive, but completely unresponsive. Pupils dilated, ears bleeding. Their bodies convulsed in sync with the static. The report ends with, animals removed from perimeter. All expired within minutes. Tissue samples anomalous. You scroll further, and another officer's note appears. This one is more personal. It's not the tape. The static is in the environment now. The terminal loads an image that makes your breath falter, a photograph of the farmhouse from Act I, taken hours after the initial discovery. The walls appear warped, almost melted. The windows are blown outward. In the center of the room, where the clothes were found, the floorboards are stained with a dark radial pattern, like an explosion of ink. The caption is clinical. Acoustic pressure event detected. Uncertain origin. The next image is worse. A close-up of the tape itself. But now the plastic casing is cracked, and through the crack you can see something that should not be inside a mechanical device. Fibrous, organically structures intertwined with the magnetic strip. A handwritten note appears below the image, presumably from Mercer. It is growing. You exhale sharply. The system loads security footage. 1, 2, B grainy. Black and white, time-stamped, 5:11 a.m. The camera shows the hallway outside the containment chamber. At first, nothing happens. Then the fluorescent lights begin to flicker in perfect sync with an unheard rhythm. The audio log attached to the footage explains why. Static detected on all frequency bands. Interference increased as camera approached chamber. A final line, unidentified movement recorded inside the chamber. No personnel inside. You scroll. A new message appears at the center of the screen. Unauthorized transmission detected from within chamber. The next transcript is short, but every word carries a weight that makes your spine feel cold. Transmission begins, we hear you. Transmission ends, the terminal glitches. The edges of the interface warp like melting film. For a second, you think the static from the tape is bleeding through the speakers. When the interface stabilizes, the final message of Act 3 appears. Containment failure probable. Prepare for final status report. You stare at the screen. The static behind you grows louder. The interface freezes before loading the next section, as if the system hesitates. Then a new banner appears in blood-red text. Final status report for internal review only. You sense that what follows was never meant for any archive, digital or physical. A map loads Echo Ridge and the surrounding counties. Several red circles mark expanding zones labeled auditory contamination. The smallest circle traces the farmhouse. The largest swallows the entire town. A short note accompanies the map. Propagation exceeds expected radius. Evacuation unsuccessful. The word unsuccessful feels intentionally vague. You suspect the truth is far worse. The next file is a government memo with multiple signatures blurred under thick black ink. The opening sentence hits with a sterile brutality. Initiate Operation Black Horizon. Eliminate all compromised personnel. Below the memo is a photo of the perimeter checkpoint at Echo Ridge. Floodlights bathe the scene in a harsh white glare. Soldiers in hazmat suits stand motionless, facing the tree line. The caption reads, "External units ordered to maintain silence protocols. No vocal communication allowed inside Red Zone." As you scroll, a new transcript appears, labeled Final Interview, Dr. Adrian Mercer. The recording time is 4:02 a.m. You brace yourself and begin reading. "They told me it wasn't real," Mercer says. His voice, captured in the transcript, is ragged and slow. But the tape only grows stronger when we deny it. He continues, "It wants to be heard. That is, its only objective. That is its function. And we helped it." The next line has a notation beside it. "Subject becomes agitated. You don't understand. The static is not the noise. It's the barrier. Something is speaking behind it." Mercer's final recorded words are underlined. "If it ever breaks through, you won't be able to shut it out. It will speak to you the way it spoke to me." The interview ends abruptly. A second note appears below. "Subject removed from sight. Status terminated." You sit still. The system lingers on the note, as if forcing you to absorb it. The next file is labeled Aftermath Civilian Zone. A series of photographs loads suburban streets, grocery store aisles, parking lots, all empty. Clothing lies scattered across driveways, still shaped as if bodies were inside them moments ago. A field agent's report is attached. No survivors, no remains. Only garments and personal items. Silence, pervasive. Static detectable through ground contact. Another photo shows a playground. The swings move slightly, though the trees around them are still. Beneath the image is a line of text, wind speed measured at 0 miles per hour during capture. You scroll downward, and an emergency radio transcript appears. To command. "We have multiple audio signatures. No visual confirmation they're repeating our transmission." Then a final burst of text. There inside the static, the transcript ends mid-sentence. No follow-up report is filed. A new heading materializes. Erasure protocols. Beneath it, a list of orders. Destroy analog playback devices in the region. Neutralize all recorded evidence. Seal Echo Ridge under federal quarantine. Indefinite reassign surviving personnel to classified units. The most chilling line is the last one. Public explanation. Chemical spill. A final document appears, an internal note from the commanding officer overseeing the site cleanup. Static has infiltrated comm lines. Recommend full shutdown of local grid. Limit communication to written only. Beneath that is a handwritten edition, shaky and uneven. I think it can hear us writing. The screen flickers violently, then a final image loads the tape itself. Now inside a sealed containment case marked with multiple red stamps. Biohazard acoustic threat do not open, but the most disturbing detail isn't the warnings. It's the faint distortion around the edges of the photograph, as if the tape is vibrating despite being in a sealed container. The last official log entry appears beneath the image. Subject remains active. Emissions continue. No degradation observed. A second line follows immediately. Recommend relocation to secure underground facility. But this line is crossed out with violent, thick strokes. A replacement line is typed below it. Recommend permanent burial. The cursor blinks for several seconds. Then the terminal posts a final, unauthorized line of text: no signature, no timestamp. It does not want to be buried. The lights on your screen dim, then brighten again. A last message appears, centered, unwavering, threat level, ongoing, another line beneath it. If you heard anything during this review, report immediately. And the final sentence of Protocol Black Static. We have no record of who accessed this file.